It should be. Godwinson, what's up, man?
Let's fucking go.
Good to hear from you. By the way, welcome to Cozy. It's been quite a debut here, and I said that already, but I wanted to tell you that personally. It's good to have you aboard here.
It's, you know what? I was somewhat trepidatious, Ralph, for real. But it's been a great platform to jump onto. It's no fucking secret, right? I've got a baby on the way. What is it? July is the due date.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
I won't give the exact due date, but it's a great little farewell tour to fucking do this on this platform. You know what this reminds me of, Ralph? It reminds me of D-Live a lot.
It does. It does. And, of course, there's a reason for that. I think they wanted to kind of replicate that a little bit. But, yeah, it's great to have you aboard. I think it injected a little light. I'm not that things were dead, but it's like a jolt to the system here. Yeah. You and Dick coming aboard, and if it is indeed a farewell, that makes it even more special. So, I could imagine a little trepidatious. I like that word. For several reasons. I saw some people complaining about you being here, or stuff like that. But I think it's been great.
But I can honestly say, between you, Nick, Beardson, Dalton, all of them have been very accommodating, extremely accommodating. It's no great secret as to who I am and what videos I've cut in the past. But it goes to show the testament of the character of these men, does it not? They're willing to break bread and hold hands in, I don't know what you'd call it. It's broship, I suppose, because they've even realized how gay it's gotten on the other side.
Yeah, and again, of course, I've seen the theories that this is you fucking around and you're playing the long game to fuck with everybody, and this is fake. First off, I don't believe that. Second off, I wouldn't care anyway, right? From my point of view, you're just an entertaining guy, and I've said this on air before. I was even watching you when you were talking shit about me, right? Back in the day, I remember watching, what was it, This Week in Kino or whatever. A lot of those shows I would actually watch because, quite frankly, a lot of the people who fuck with me or try to make it their deal to fuck with me are kind of boring and not that entertaining. And you really, I can't really watch that stuff, but I would find myself watching you even when you're shit talking me for an hour, just because it's funny, right? I've always respected you, even when we were kind of on opposite sides there, just as an entertainer.
And you know what? Likewise, because what you do is in this game, you respect the performance. No one can cut a promo better than you, Ralph. When you're talking about Cog the Cock, Jobless Johnny, I know things are built with Ricata now, but when you're calling Ricata, just taking your sunglasses off and screaming, okay, no one cuts a promo better than Ralph. And you can appreciate that if you're not seething in your fucking blanket there like Shannon Gaines, confirmed pedophile, by the way. You can appreciate the performance across the aisles, can't you?
Right. Well, that's what it's all about. Again, right, you say you have beefs with people or you have disagreements, but if you can't appreciate a good performance or a good show, why are you even around, right? Or you're so salty that every little thing, like Medicare talking about me having a suitcase. It's okay, yeah, I have a suitcase, motherfucker. Is that really an epic burn? Just call me a fat fuck or something. I just stick to the old school. I don't know what's going on, but it's because it's not fun for them. They're doing it because they're bothered, right? Yeah.
I did want to get into that. So, Kingpin 2, I think we can objectively say was pretty fucking successful. No bomb threats, right? No random attacks from the audience, nothing at all, really. But how desperate they were just to attempt to try and scrabble any sort of thing at all. It's a prostitute. Okay, fair enough. It's that's esoteric shaggyism. Oh, right, okay. Oh, by the way, we've sent some spies. Oh, okay, right. What did you get? Oh, look, here's Ralph on a throne. Oh, right, okay. Here's Ralph in Ali Jamal's mansion. Right, okay. Did you know that Ali Jamal's parents hate Ralph? He's sitting in their mansion and driving their cars. And then the final cherry on top was I forget now. What was it? What was what's the most
A-log
desperate
blood.
thing they're trying to go
So
for
there
now?
was A-log blood. First off, there was punch at the party. Ali Jamal's dad made it and came out there and brought it out there. And Worski, like you said, I don't know if I talked about this last night or not. It was a quick show. But Worski sent some spies to the event. First off, there was nothing to spy on, really. Like, you know what I mean? Like
That's what I'm saying. There was nothing crazy. It was just bros hanging out from the looks of it.
Right. That's all we did. Like, even at Kingpin, we're sitting there now. A lot of, people were, I was sober, but there were some lubricated people there, right? Partying and stuff. But anything.
Can we just get real for a moment, Ralph? Like, props to you, man. I appreciate how hard it might have been to see all those people having a good time around you with alcohol, and you managed to keep that in check. I mean, you're a long way from where you used to be, 100%. And I think you're an inspiration, quite frankly, to people going through that recovery.
Well, thank you.
That's a real moment.
Thank you for saying that. And a lot of people have told me that. And it was it was a little tough, I guess, towards the end of the evening because everybody's, well, not everybody, but a lot of people were really drunk at that point, and that would usually be me. But instead, I'm starting to get annoyed by the drunk people, right? I'm like, all right, I gotta leave. And so, not that I hate those people, but it's like, okay, people are really drunk. It's not the same if you're not drinking, right? It's like, okay, it's 12 or so. It's time to go home. But it's been a switch, and it's just something I needed to do, right? It kind of started interfering with my responsibilities, many different responsibilities. I'm getting older. And I said this on air, but this is the time they start finding you dead, right? Like this is kind of that zone when you're still get out there in those streets, so to speak, or whatever, out there with the substances. So I think it was a good call, and I've had a lot of support. So I appreciate you saying that.
But meanwhile, here you are, pictured wheeling a suitcase. Like, come on.
I just don't get that at all. I don't even understand the dig. I think he just wanted to talk about me having a purse or whatever, which is also not. I mean, it's like first off, you're British, right? And I know you've been to Europe plenty. Everybody has one of those in Europe, like a little satchel or a backpack or whatever. It's very 90s
Every
joke.
time I've ever flown, I've got like the same little suitcase that you put in like the holdall. Like it's easier. You wheel around. I don't understand how that's up there with all of your greatest moments of.
I don't know.
I don't understand.
Well, and then you think about Kingpin.
It shows you how desperate they are, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Well, last year there was a lot of crazy shit going on. Like somebody hit me taking a swing, and you know he may have got stomped on there afterwards, and there's all kinds of shit. Chaggett getting maced, and police coming in, and so. It's like they were trying
to watch,
right?
But I mean, to relive that, I imagine it wasn't
a little
you were looking forward to.
Stressful in the moment, right?
Sure.
But it's like they're trying to recreate, and particularly Worski or Fat Boy and the Cokehead, as I like to call him. It's just so manufactured, just completely out of thin air. The A-Log's blood. That never happened. Never said that. Never even had any punch. They're sending in spies for what reason, right? Like, I don't understand.
Well, it strikes me, Ralph. I don't know how long you want this call in to be, but I'm willing to go for a while.
Yeah, that's fine.
To unpack a lot of this. It strikes me as just desperation. They're just desperately trying to resurrect what this was, I suppose, 2021, when they were all making money and they were all doing well. And now they're just desperate. Like, truly fucking desperate. The fact that they were, like, pointing at that esoteric Shaggyism account. Like, it's a guy on Twitter. Does he make content? I don't think so. Does he just post tweets? Yes, that's exactly what he does. But the fact is that they're all salivating over this guy's blood to the point where they're, like, pointing at random people and saying, oh, it's him, we've got him. I don't understand it. But it's desperate. And as of today, you've got Worski wheeling out the jobber card yet again. How many times has he done this, by the way, to try and self-insert himself into other people's fights? It's like, I've lost count.
It's a classic Worski move. First off, I'm not fighting Worski. And if anybody ever asked me what they should do, I would say don't fuck with him. Not because you couldn't whoop his ass, but why give him any money, right? Like, why help him out in any way whatsoever? That's my mindset. Yeah. And like you said,
my mindset is, Ralph, like, for real, I'm like a spindly ass fuck. I don't think I've ever thrown a punch in my life. I might have done like when I was a kid or something, but never like in manhood. I've got what I call the Nick physique. I'm not like bulked up or anything like that, but I want to be. And I think the only thing that's going to motivate you, if you can genuinely have a worthy opponent that's not going to like be knocked out in 7 seconds, you go through all that training, you go for a year of fucking motivation, and then ultimately you knock your opponent out in 7 seconds. And when you want to keep punching, there's a ref pulling you off him. I say no to that. The guy's a jobber, complete jobber. At least with Teddy Feezer, like, he's got what I consider my physique. And it'd do us both good to bulk up and step into the ring, unproven. Whereas Warski is what you call a proven failure in the ring.
Plus, Warski has no heart for the fight, to use a certain term, and he absolutely will fold like a cheap suit once again. Feezer, I don't respect him at all, but I imagine he would probably be a little more scrappy of an opponent, quite frankly. Warski, you know, he's going to get his money and take a dive again. Of course, it was helped along the way. I don't know if I call it a dive, but, you know, he had no heart, right? He could have even gotten up from that, but you could tell he was just completely deflated. Also, I wanted to say this because I don't want to forget. I couldn't understand how in the fuck they said that was Esoteric Shaggy, and I couldn't understand it for the longest. But we were talking last night.
It was how desperate they were. I mean, bear in mind how desperate they were when they were pinning all their hopes on Big Fag. Big Fag, who was bodied in like 2 hours last night, and then again today where he's crying. And I mean, they pinned all their hopes on Big Fag being their champion. That failed. Okay, let's try and dox this Twitter account. Let's point at a random guy in the crowd. The guy, you know what that guy looks like? He looks like Smooth McGroove. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but just any guy with a beard. Well, and now they're trying to desperately sell.
I didn't understand, but I think what they did. First off, you pointed this out accurately, and I should have pointed it out myself. But he was actually tweeting and clipping out stuff while the event was going on.
You know what I mean? Like, it's so fucking... It's obvious to all but the blind, I suppose, but...
Well, some of these people are just...
there on the streets, there in real time.
Some of these people...
when you've got Warski breaking the news, I mean, news alert, Warski's kind of fucking retarded. And I wouldn't trust him as a source on anything, really.
How to get knocked out, yeah, but anything else, no.
How to abort a kid, maybe. Yeah.
Right. Oh. Now, I see. So I kept thinking, I was like, how are they getting this? But I think I know what happened. They think that this is his face, is what they think.
Yes, they do. They think that's his face.
Do you want to tell them who that is?
That is Mormon Shaggy. That is... Esoteric Shaggyism is an account dedicated... Well, it was initially set up, from what I understand, to A-log Mormon Shaggy and document his whereabouts, and then he sort of branched out. And occasionally over the years, you've had various fucking fools, like Big Tech the other night, click onto Mormon Shaggy's channel and go, whoa, look at this guy. He's living on a boat and he's doing all of this illicit shit with prostitutes. And they genuinely think that this avatar is Esoteric Shaggy.
How could they be that stupid? I just don't understand. It took me a while to figure it out, but if you look at this picture and you see the other guy, you can kind of see it, right? But this is not the same person.
That's what they've gone for, Ralph. They've gone with something that looks like the avatar because they're retarded.
Oh man, it took me a couple days, but yeah, that's what happened because how I figured it out. Finally, it's like, well, they're taking the guy's face that they said was Esoteric Shaggy and like putting it in this picture and saying, oh, they got him. And it's like, well, that's not, he's an A-log of Shaggy. Right? Like, it's not the same person.
But what I don't understand either, Ralph, is like, I mean, I don't want to like cross any boundaries here, but who gives a fuck if this guy gets docked? Who gives a fuck about this guy's existence anyway? It's literally just a Twitter account. It's a fucking Twitter account.
Well, they do, and I'll tell you why. Because he's pretty effective on Twitter. And he
is damn effective.
Yeah, and he's roasted.
He's the last one standing. Bear in mind all the guys that they had on their side at one point. They had that Pinochet guy, the guy pretending to be a helicopter and a journalist. Yeah. They had the Christorian X-Man, the guy who was wearing the big X. And they still tried to bring themselves back, like that Zanny Berry's fucking all of this. But it's not been as effective as this Twitter account that they're desperately trying to dox.
Yeah, and you see most of those accounts have kind of, you mentioned the Zanny Berry's faggot, and Kenosha disappeared. Christorian X is AF Stream Watch. He's kind of behind that a little bit.
Well, Kenosha ran for the hills when it came out that he doxed himself by using I think he linked his real Indeed, his real
I didn't see that
email address and everything associated to the Chud Buds.
Oh,
thing
during
that
the
he had.
Yeah, the Chud Buds.
So Randy Williams, you might have ran for those hills, but I'm still coming.
Good old Randy. I think I missed that. I did know that he was complaining about, I think it was Christorian X, now that you mention it, and somebody else trying to dox him. Many such cases, quite frankly.
Many such cases as well.
But
that's what shows me how. I mean, all I saw this as is like a complete act of desperation, because they were desperate for you to like die in this Kingpin 2. They've been hyping it up as the fact that you're going to die. All of this stuff's going to happen. Nothing happened. Just like nothing happened at the Ralphamania event. And they didn't even stream snipe it. No one even stream snipe it. Jobless Johnny stream snipe it because he hasn't got a job. But that was it, really. No one even fucking stream sniped Kingpin 2.
Well,
it was like, where is it all now?
Well, they made up a bunch of fake rumors that I was going to get arrested or served with divorce papers and all this stuff the day. Of course, none of that happened. And they're just so desperate to. And then I see people, I can't wait till he relapses and, this and that. Alcohol is so great. Love the taste and all this stuff. Like, I don't know, thinking that that's going to cause me to relapse. I don't think I've ever done that with anybody. I'd soon wish somebody dead before I wish them like back in
This is the thing, Ralph, and this is what disaffected me, right? A lot of these, well, all of them, let's be real, all of them are living their lives in contrast to you. They feel better in life if you're not doing well. Like, they genuinely do level their... I mean, we might level our accomplishments by, accomplishments in our career or in our families or in our life just in general. Their accomplishments are measured by what you're doing that day. And they pretend to be better men based off of that.
Well... And
that's what disaffects you. Like, how can you be... So, for example, how can you be like this coke-sniffing retard with with a Artie Lang nose?
Saw that.
Right? It's killed his kids. That's been sleeping on the floor of his dad's office for 15 years. That's literally 38 years old. How can you be him and not an objective failure? Oh, I'll point at someone else and say that they're doing bad. Well, that doesn't sweep away the fact that Andy's nose is going to be like Artie Lang's in about 15 months, isn't it? This guy's on the wrong side of 30. There's no way his life's getting better. When he's 40, I mean, I imagine he'll just be biting a bullet in the darkness. No great loss, by the way. But also, like, this is the accomplishment. Teddy Feezer lives in his mum's basement. He got outed for wearing his mum's mascara and her foundation, and is now wearing a big red hat and sunglasses to hide literally all of his face. It's truly appalling. But these are the kings. These are the kings that... and the worst thing is, right, Ralph, it's not just that they're going, oh, we're scumbags as well. I
would respect that.
That would be more understandable, the rules of the game. It's like, well, I'm a scumbag as well. They're not. They're pretending to be bastions of truth and virtue. I didn't really want to take a swipe at PPP, but prime example, the guy is 500 pounds. He looks like the fat vampire from Blade. He's paler than Casper's ghost. And he's out there saying to groypers, saying to anyone disaffected with Nick or Cozy TV or you, that he's a better man. He's thinner, apparently, and he's healthier. There's just no way. There's no way at all.
He almost died, literally. Like, just last week.
Now, here's the thing with PPP. Like, when I saw the guy was in the fucking hospital, you genuinely feel bad because there's a lot of history there. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
I brought him up through the ranks. He was my co-host. I definitely did, at one point in time, consider the guy a friend. So when you see the guy in the hospital bed, you're like, whoa, fuck. So I reached out and I said, I hope you don't die. And he explained that he had this, like, sepsis of the leg or something, sitting in a community hot tub. I don't know. It was just some craziness. But, you'd think that would be an existential moment where he'd decide, as you have done, right, to drop the vices, just maybe fucking get your life in order while you still can. I guarantee you he's not going to be losing any weight.
He's not. I saw him, stretched out with his big belly, stuff in his face. I don't think he's making too many changes. And I said this, of course, he's lied about me for years, and I don't have any love for him. I understand why you got a little bit of residual there, but even so, even though I have no love for him, it's still another human. It's like, dude, you only have so many chances to clean this shit up, and you almost checked out. Honestly, it's lucky Cokehead, according to what he said, I don't know if that's true. He probably did make him go to the hospital because that's his meal ticket. And he knows he's really fucked if he dies. So he probably was really concerned, quite frankly. But if he didn't go to the hospital, he easily could have just died at that house or apartment, wherever the fuck they are. And, that should be a big wake-up call, but I don't really think it's going to be.
Well, here's the thing, Ralph. Like, I know of people who've had sepsis or have got sepsis, and that's like proper blood poisoning, right?
Yes.
They have limbs cut off for that shit. Like, genuinely, you can have your foot cut off, your legs cut off. Like, it genuinely is like a crazy thing to have afflicted you. And I've never known of anyone to get sepsis at the age of, how old is PPP? Dude, like 26?
He's still in his 20s, and I'll tell this story because I didn't tell it. My mom had, way before she passed away untimely and all that stuff, she had sepsis because she was in the hospital for her kidneys or liver or something, and she caught sepsis at the hospital, which is usually how you get it, right? And it was very serious, and she almost died, right? Like, it was a very serious thing, and they had to, like, clean her blood and all this stuff. Now, she was already on dialysis, so, but there was all these special procedures she had to do, and I remember when they told us, because it was like a very, very grim news. And I'm reading about sepsis. I'm like, what the fuck? And it's really serious. But my mom was like 60 years old when this happened, right? Like she was an old lady at that point. And he's not. He's like, what, 28, 29? Getting sepsis?
No, I think he's a year younger than me, so he'd be 26.
Really?
You know what I mean? So it's kind of fucked. It really is kind of fucked, ultimately. I mean, I saw a clip of their show afterwards where, he's literally lying down.
You saw that.
Guys looking like Casper's, looking like the fat vampire from Blade. That sums it up, really, as to what it was. He's pale, he's stricken. There's like...
He shouldn't have been broadcasting. Voice. He looked really bad.
It was truly like fucked. And clearly, like straight out of the hospital, he must have just been made to do this show.
That's what it was like. It was like Warski was just like, get him out there, right? Let's get a show out there. And then they went and filmed some Come Road right after. And I'm looking at him like, this guy's going to... I don't know. Yeah. And he looked really bad. You saw some of the pictures I tweeted out. I mean, those weren't edited. That was the actual color of his skin. And he really needed at least a couple more days. But it was almost like Warski, like Colonel Tom Parker or whatever. Just give him something. Give him some pills. Get him out there. Let's do the show. But yeah, I don't think Warski cares about his health very much, other than.
Well, and here's the thing, Ralph. Like, behind the scenes baseball. When I was associated with PPP, when we were making content together, we were in our early 20s, and we always said around 25, we'll retire this shit. We'll give it up. We'll pass it on. It'll be done. Or by the age of 25, we'll have stuff figured together. We'll be winding down, right? This is what you'd talk about, just sort of behind the scenes. And you know what? I'm 27 now. Things are looking up. Things are looking right. I've got lots of good things in my life. I've got things to live for properly. Everything's sort of together and with it. And then I look at what he's done in those years since, and he's moved in with Andy Warski, a 38-year-old man. They're both terminal. I mean, Warski's going to die of an overdose, let's be honest, or kill himself in his bathtub or something. And then PPP's like looking at dying just through consumption, like a medieval peasant or something, medieval king. So that's where we're at, that's where we're at. So they didn't really learn you don't buddy up with Warski for real, but you've got to look around and look at the existential fucking moment of your life and go, there's some things where you need to just take a step back and go, whoa. Unfortunately, they're just desperate to... I mean, where does this end up, Ralph? Are they going to be logging you to the grave? Is that what they're trying to do?
I don't understand. And on my show, we do a lot of different things. And, we were just talking about Russia before you come on. And But they don't do that, right? Their whole thing is just either A-logging me, that's the most of it, but or Nick or what's going on in Cozy. And there's no real substance to anything. And I'm not saying that, I'm Walter Cronkite or whatever, or this is the PBS NewsHour, but you just think about how is there any like longevity in that beyond a couple years? Like I don't know. And then we talked about it already, but they get so desperate. They need craziness out of me. They need me to be out there, getting wasted and fucking up my life and doing all this shit. And if I'm not, they have to try to create it somehow. Or fuck with me to try to get it to happen, right? And when it's not happening, they just get desperate and start making shit up. And that's just gonna get wilder and wilder. And you see, their audience, they still get over 1K sometimes, but they've kind of decimated their own audience when they should have kind of turned things a little bit. And you've talked about this too. And I think that's what you were kind of trying to do when you were involved, like turn it a little bit, right? And talk about some other people, right, talk about other topics. Yeah, go ahead. You nailed it on the head. Yeah, it's the plurality of content. Myself and you have it. Any show can go anywhere. It's not all predetermined. You're not going to be A-logging or talking about or covering the drama of one person every fucking day for the next. They've been doing this now for nearly 2 years. And it makes you wonder, like, is this all they have? Is there anything else? Are they not doing anything with their lives? Like, they're genuinely watching this now. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're watching this now. They're watching your every movement now. Yeah, they are.
They're watching anything Nick does now. And it makes you wonder, like, are they just living vicariously through this? Is this giving them any sort of validation? Maybe Warski should, like, I don't know, stop killing his kids, stop snorting coke, stop sleeping on his dad's office's floor. Maybe PvP should put the fork down and stop looking like Casper's ghost.
Well, just stop eating.
Like, it ain't hard.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I lost 22 pounds. Well, 20 now because I guess 19 or so. 19 or 20 because I gained 3 while I was there at Kingpin. But, I've lost about 20 pounds since the end of April. Well, you know how I did it? I just stopped eating, right? Like, and I still eat one meal, but you know what I mean? Like, you can limit your calories. It just takes self-discipline. And especially him, he's like 500 pounds. If he just limited his calories, he would literally melt off 100 pounds just so easy. Before it would even get difficult at all. And he would look better. You saw him, you've known him for a while, right? I'm not sure if people realize he used to look like a normal guy. And he was still...
Yeah, he was a lot thinner when I used to talk to him, 100%.
And he was a little pudgy, but it wasn't like, crazed. And I'll tell you...
What they do, Ralph, is, and it's so obvious, because they manifest how much this lifestyle is fucking them up physically, right? PPP manifests it through all of the cope eating that he's doing. The guy is like 500 pounds now. Clearly, it's not a great lifestyle to lead. Warski manifests it by literally looking like this with his Artie Lang nose. It's the physicality that betrays how good it's going. So they might say, oh, we're doing well, but it's their faces that betray it, isn't it?
And I was going to say basically exactly what you just said, but related to myself, right? Things could be going great. Things could be awesome, but there were a lot of times where, it might be a great show, but I was drunk as shit, right? Or after the show, I'm passing out and just living a life. It gets more comfortable. You can really settle into some bad vices in this game, and you're
We've
almost
all been there.
Yes,
trust me, I've been there, man.
And you're like rewarded for it in certain cases. You know what I mean? And it can really wreak havoc on your life. And I could be a case example myself. Now it took a lot of serious things for me to say, all right, I got to stop this, or I'm never going to stop, right? I'm never going to turn around. It's kind of a dangerous game in certain ways, especially with the drinking, right? Like I made a ton of money getting drunk on air and, boozing it up. And a lot of people like that until they didn't, right? Because it got hard to watch. And they'll come to that point as well. But, you really have to monitor yourself and kind of keep yourself in check. in this business, and it's nasty in more ways than one, and it can really just, you have people out there gassing you up too all the time, and it's like, I'll do what I want, I'll drink what I want, and your life's falling apart, or you're 800 pounds.
But here's the thing, Ralph, like you've genuinely got things to live for, even though, like, trust me, I've been there as well. We've been going through lots of crazy times. You've still got those fixed points in your life whilst that was happening, where you can now reflect when you've recovered and go, okay, there's some stuff to live for. You've got 2 kids, you've got a wife, you've got a fairly successful fucking online business or whatever. Like, things are fairly good, really, in real world terms. Warski has nothing. Like, literally, he's 38 and he has nothing. He's only just moved out of his dad's office. And like PPP, I mean, what is there to speak of in terms of life accomplishments or goals at all?
It's brutal, and
so you have something to live for. These don't. All these have to live for is literally you, I suppose.
And also, it's kind of sad. I will say, thank God for my children and my wife. It does give you something to live for. It did help me kind of snap out of it. If I didn't have that, I don't know if I would have, quite frankly, because I'm very strong-willed in a negative way sometimes. And if I didn't have that, I don't know what how things would have turned out. Not that I'm, out of the woods completely or anything like that. But you see Warski, the reason the Bortsky thing bothers him and bringing up the abortion, he says it doesn't. But it clearly does. And that's why he hates you so much. That's why he hates me so much. He tweeted about you like 18 times today. You see, he sang that song about abortion. You could see the look on his face. It absolutely bothers him. That he killed his child, and I mean, it would bother me too if I had done that, right?
Yeah, right. It would bother any man, wouldn't it?
Yes.
I mean, he's got the blood of Andy Jr. on his hands, and he's haunted by that little ghost every fucking night. He closes his eyes. Even on the overdoses, he's trying to fucking blank out the thought of Andy Jr.'s ghost. It's his fault for doing that. But you know what? He did that, 7, 8 years ago? He had plenty of chances to rebuild his life, and now he's the wrong side of 30. He's literally like 18 months away from being 40. He looks like this. He's completely fucked. Just completely fucked in life in general. And no bitch is going to fuck Warski. Look at him.
Yeah, I think that ship's kind of sailed. And all his stuff's out there. I mean, they like to talk about me, revenge porn, this, that. He put out revenge porn on Twitter.
Yeah, I know. He put out revenge porn and lied about being hacked.
Yes, and clearly lied, by the way. If you watch that clip, it's like an obvious lie. But, many such cases, they're all duplicitous. I talked about the doxing thing. They talk about doxing and, then immediately try to dox people, right? It's this huge scourge, and then they're out there doxing. There doesn't have to be any logical consistency, but I really don't see how he pulls himself out of this. And like you said, he's had a long time. I mean, it's not something that you would probably ever get over. But still, I mean, you have to kind of try to put it behind you and make your peace with it, right? Clearly, he has not made peace with it, and I think that's one thing that's really just bothers him all the time, and you can see it on his face, even though he says it doesn't.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, I don't need to be there for that moment, but I know the way Andy's going to die. Andy's going to die by an overdose or killing himself or both, or both. Like, the guy, we know his end. We can see his end. His end is literally written in the fucking stars. And it'll be an ignominious death. He won't be surrounded by anyone he loves. There won't be anyone there. His parents will literally just, I give him a pauper's funeral, I suppose. Little fucking casket there. Cremation. Keep him in an urn as they fucking move on with their lives. And they'll remember this. I mean, this is a 40-year-old man nearly.
Look at this.
Can you believe what you're seeing? Right?
Look at this. First off, I'm going to play this. I haven't heard it yet. I heard the other one.
I've not heard this one. Really.
Nah, yeah. See, I heard the other one. It was terrible, by the way. He was trying to do your accent badly, very badly. Like I said earlier, I'd have been ashamed.
But did you see the other one? Like, the other one, he's in his mom's driving him around.
No, I didn't see that one. He was walking around the parking lot, I think, in the one that I've seen. By the way, he's completely manic today. Like, I checked his timeline, and since Kingpin, he doesn't usually tweet that much. But there's tweet after tweet about me, and then today, it's just nothing but Godwinson. and videos and everything else.
It's floundering around, desperately trying to insert yourself into any sort of relevance. That's what it is.
Now, let me play this. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it through the Roadcaster or not because they changed some setting and fuck shit up. But I'll put it in here too, just in case you can't hear it. There's the link right there, and I'll go ahead and play it right now.
Godwinson added the stipulation of
still doing it.
Only if it's to the death. I accept your challenge, Godwinson. It's over, but now you have to do my stipulation. One time, you asked Shannon Gaines to do push-ups.
Yeah, you can tell he's snorted.
He's high as fuck. Yeah.
How I do them, then I will fight you to the death. I will sign the waiver.
Look at his eyes.
Match
The bags under him.
Godwinson, and we shall fight.
Oh, wow. 2 one-handed push-ups. Oh, 3. Okay. By the way, that didn't help you in London. How is that a fight skill?
The thing is, Ralph, I make no bones of the fact that, I'm a spindly motherfucker. I've never thrown a punch in my life, which is why I think Teddy would be a worthy opponent, because he's also the same. This guy, his claim to fame is spending 14 hours in gym every day in the run-up to the Salt Poppy fight, and then having to be wheeled to the ring.
Tell me that,
because he was so coked out.
I didn't hear that until you said that earlier on Twitter, I think. I didn't know that, actually.
Keemstar forced him to be wheeled to the ring. He was wheeled to the ring in a wheelchair, Ralph.
No shit.
Shit.
Well, it looked like it once he got in the ring. I mean, talk about deer in headlights. Also, he had kind of a gut. I got a gut too, obviously. But, he was the one talking about he was so ripped and in shape. And then he got in the ring, and I don't know if you've ever seen Great White Hype, but he looked like the champion in that fight. Now, the champion.
Look at this guy. This guy, I mean, he's 11 years older than me, and he looks it. It's a bum. This is a bum. A fucking jobber bum. Proven bum.
By the way, that's not the correct form for the for the one-handed push-up, but I guess I'll give him some points for trying. I don't understand how that's, do some shadow boxing, right? Or do some fucking sparring if you're trying to show off your fighting skills. We've seen you try to show off your fighting skills already, and it was fatality almost there in London. It's just desperate. Let me go to his timeline as well, and I'll
Well, I hate to break it to you, Ralph, but he's not the sharpest tool in the shed, is he?
No, he's not. See, look, there's 2 different videos. There's 1 hour ago, the pinned, 12 minutes ago. He's definitely coked out, by the way. There's no doubt. Look at his face.
Desperate.
This is crazy. There's another post about you, a retweet about you. There's another tweet. Like I said, there's me passed out. That's kind of funny. But
look at this coke vein, by the way. Look at his coke vein bulging out of his forehead, Ralph.
It's just crazy. Oh, yeah, here's the one with his mom driving around. Okay, I didn't see that. Damn, it's 2 minutes. I can't. Godwinson copes about running from Warski. It's like, no, he wasn't even talking to you. There's another tweet about you. There's the one I saw earlier. But just in case people didn't believe me, actually, I think I undercounted it. I said 18, but it's more like 25 or more. So, yeah, I don't it's just lame and pathetic. He knows I'm not going to give him a paycheck, so I guess he's trying to move on or try to,
well, as you've seen earlier, he was desperately trying to at Keemstar.
Yeah.
Do you think Keemstar's going to waste another 10 grand on Warski?
I wouldn't see why. And that's exactly what he's thinking. Just getting another payday. Well, remember when this happened, he said he was going to start fighting, right? And this was the beginning of a new arc, and he signed a 3-fight deal.
I remember. This was 9 months ago, right?
Wasn't that long ago. You're right.
He was in the gym 14 hours a day, Ralph. Yeah. Remember?
It turns out that was a lie. He went twice or whatever, didn't really do any sparring. And then his main training was, for people who don't remember, VR boxing on a headset. And he said that was good enough. Well, spoiler alert, that's not good enough. That's not good enough in the ring. Talk about having no respect for the sport either. I've been a longtime fan of boxing. And if I fought somebody, I'm actually going to train, right, with an actual boxing coach.
This is what I'm talking about, Ralph. You want an opponent that respects the process. You want an opponent that is going to take the time as well to train and do it well and meet you at the fucking level. This guy isn't going to do shit.
It's pathetic, and I don't understand how people keep gassing him up. I guess they just want to see him get hurt, some of them, but it's really pathetic. And I respect the sport of boxing, and that's not to say I would go out there and look like Floyd Mayweather or anything like that. I'll still probably be a little shaky. I'm not a professional boxer, but I would definitely take that shit seriously. It's clear he did not, and he's lucky he didn't get seriously hurt, quite frankly, and that the ref didn't let that go on, because he was about to get some real brain damage.
Well, I think it's a great crime that the ref fucking cucked and stopped the fight. It should have just continued until he was hospitalized, quite frankly.
I agree, until he was just taken out completely.
Like, Ralph, for example, I know there's been lots of talk about this Wings fight, because when Wings called you out and stuff and said that you'd be his next opponent.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You train for that. You genuinely would fucking show Wings that level of respect, as he'd show you that level of respect.
Sure.
You wouldn't just sit on your ass and do nothing, watching VR porn.
Well, that's a disgrace. First off, it's dangerous, right? You should train. You need to be somewhat in the game, right, when you get into the ring, and it's just disrespectful to the sport. And I'll read some of these super chats in a sec, but it was also, I just couldn't imagine doing that. And Wings, the whole thing with Wings, I don't really think that's serious. I messaged Keemstar, and I didn't hear anything back. Keem's a fucking snake. That would be a whole different discussion.
Here's the thing, Ralph. Regarding that Keemstar shit, I think what he's paying them is so low and paltry. 10 grand, is that it?
I couldn't believe that.
Is that it? I know they're not prize fighters, but holy shit. Wings and Boogie, 10 grand each? Really? Is that it?
I couldn't believe that, dude. Like, that fight, now, of course, it was kind of a circus show atmosphere, right? But it got a ton of media attention. It got a ton of views on YouTube. I guarantee that Keemstar made more than 20 grand off that.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
But I mean, Boogie came out publicly and said he lost money.
What a retard. That's not something to be proud of, Boogie, you fucking moron. You don't fight to lose money. That's the exact opposite objective. Do you think people are out there boxing for their health? And now some of them enjoy the sport and love the game or whatever, but they're out there for money. They get paid. They're making cash. You don't fight to lose money. Keemstar's not paying medicals. He's not paying training camp. If you were a pro boxer, I've said this before, now you already have that stuff set up, right? You have your infrastructure and you have money invested into your training camps and your gear and all that stuff. Well, none of these people do. So in my mind, some of that's got to be included, right? Like, I can't imagine, here's 10 grand, but you got to spend half of it, or at least getting ready. Like, I mean, that's kind of a fucking con job. And
it's just so paltry. I'd have at least expected double that.
Yeah, I would
Wings
expect 20.
Boogie.
20 would have been fair.
At the very least, because at least then they can, I don't know, give up some of their IRL businesses to do
also,
this. But
Boogie's a dumb fuck. He didn't go on air that next week. I don't even know what he was thinking, honestly. Wings went on air and made like $3 grand or something, and was.
Well, this is the thing, right? Like, Warski did the same thing, Ralph.
Mm-hmm.
Once he got knocked out by Salt Pappy. I'm going to talk directly to Warski here. Here's what you should have done, Warski. You got knocked out in the ring by Salt Pappy. Instead of drinking yourself into oblivion and snorting that boxed wine and doing all that coke, what you should have done is just done a show. Keep doing the shows instead of hiding. And that's what he did. And now there's no capitalization on that.
He should have done
He's literally known to all and sundry, like to everyone, to millions of people, as a guy who was knocked out in 7 seconds.
I don't know if people, and I don't know if people realize, but Warski is well known among fight fans now, because that clip had millions and millions of views, and DAZN has in some of their highlight reels and stuff, just him getting fucking savaged. But
didn't capitalize on that at all. Like, you genuinely would play into it, wouldn't you? I'm the guy that was knocked out in 7 seconds.
Sure, I would.
Warski, the guy that was knocked down in 7. You'd capitalize on it. Instead, he's ashamed by it because that was his one. His one shot at making himself anything.
He should have
at the age of 36.
He should have been on the air as quick as possible within 3 days, as soon as he got back home, and he should have had that clip on a loop like we did. And he should have been sitting there laughing about it, and at least I went out. Now, he said some of that like 2 weeks later or whatever, but he should be sitting there. It should be a drop on their show, right? Like, if I had a famous clip like that, I'd be playing it all the time. I got jumped in the street, and we play it all the time. There's a sticker in my chat of me like this with blood pouring down my head. I mean, you might as well just lean into it, and, you know, it was an experience, right? You're not dead. Just make your money, come back out and use it for something. But, you know, he was just that embarrassed.
I mean, you know this guy. You knew this guy for a long time. You know how fragile this guy's ego is. You know how the slightest bit of pressure fucking presses him. And the guy's probably got the fucking pistol to his head temple now. You know.
People don't understand. Warski is one of the most fragile motherfuckers on planet Earth. And if he thinks you're his friend, he will like call you at all times of the day and just like have all these crazy, you know, ideas and thoughts in his head. And I don't know, what was that screenshot when Cal was going after him? He's
Cal, the board, my sister.
Yeah. He's like losing his mind. Oh, dude, he is just the most soft motherfucker that ever existed. This is the guy who broke up the Kumite because they didn't make what he thought they should make 1 week, right? Like, he's very susceptible to just the wind slightly blowing in a different direction. And he'll blow up everything. He moved Twisted Minds from after my show to 5 p.m. in the middle of the day and thought that was a good idea. Like, he's an absolute fucking moron and lost, you know, almost all of his audience when he did that. He is really dumb, and he's really just a complete prisoner of the moment. There is no strategic thinking at all. There is no stay the course. Honestly, you know, their show's a travesty and sucks, but I will give him a little slight credit. At least he's stuck with it a little bit. So that's kind of a switch.
It's been incredibly erratic, Ralph. I mean,
it's true.
They promised a show that was going to be there every Friday with shows in between. You know, you can count on one hand the amount of Fridays they've actually done this past year. It's all erratic. It's like you say, prisoner of the moment shit.
Yes.
Guy's having existential crises every time he's looking around his Twitter. And don't forget as well, like, you know Warski, I know a bit of Warski, but this guy doesn't want to be doing this. He wants to be mainstream. He wants to be like doing some silly shit where he's ghost hunting or looking for the Loch Ness Monster. He doesn't want to be doing this. Warski's real wheelhouse is to be like a reality star or some bollocks. Comedian. Warski doesn't want to be doing this because all this does is just tar him even further and expose him for what he really is. Look at that coke vein, by the way. That's the real Warski, you know?
That's exactly right. And Warski, you hit on it. He doesn't want to be in this corner of the internet, this sector.
No.
And he's tried to escape it many, many times instead of just accepting, like, this is as far as you're going to get. This is where you're going to be, kind of underground, you know, talking about shit that maybe you don't want to talk about, but this is all there is. Remember the tweet? This was back during the Kumite days where he's like, I'm going to be on Joe Rogan and, you know, I'm headed for that's how he sees himself.
And that's what motivates this insecurity and keeps him a prisoner of the moment, because he'll have a really manic high where he's really into what he's doing. Oh yes, Nick Fuentes, he's from wealth. He'll have a really manic high, and then he'll reflect when he's on his come down and go, oh fuck, I should have been on Joe Rogan 10 years ago now. And that's what happens with the guy. He's just a fragile man.
That's right. In the down moments, you know, when he's not crazed like he is in some of these videos or high on coke, he realizes that you know, that's never going to happen. That's never going to happen. Now, first off, it's not going to happen for me either. Now, I would come closer than him probably, but it's just not going to happen. And I've accepted that for years and years. There is no mainstream, right? There's the underground, and there's a lot of stuff you can do here. There's a lot of good shows and good stuff and funny things you can do. But just, you're not going to be on MTV. You're not going to be on, all these mainstream shows and Lex Friedman and, Rogan and all that stuff. They don't want you there.
But here's the thing, Ralph. Like, sure, there's limits to this, but look at your friends and look at Warski's friends. Eh? I mean, Dick Masterson joined alongside me on Cozy. You know, we've got Nick Fuentes. You spent the fucking weekend in a castle. You know, Warski spent his weekend in a community hot tub with PPP.
Yeah, and they hate it too.
That's what,
by the way, you cut out for a second.
I mean, the amount of seed that they put out over that video of you driving to the castle. You know what I mean? Because Warski wishes he was there. Warski genuinely would suck your dick if he could come back.
You know,
you know it. I know it. We all know it.
I don't doubt that at all. And I've heard some stories about Warski as well. So no, that would not surprise me. But yeah, I do believe he would rather be back here. And there's certainly a string of jealousy or whatever you want to call it. Now look at this house. First off, it's not a McMansion like Medicare said. His dad designed this house himself. His dad is like an ER trauma surgeon, by the way, highly accomplished.
This to me looks like a Disneyland castle, Ralph, like for real.
It does. That's what I'm saying. Like, what is the downside to going here? And then you see, I won't mention certain shop owners and stuff, and they're like, Ralph bullied just so he could go to this house. And I was nothing but a perfect gentleman the whole entire time I was at the house. I helped clean up the party, right? Me and his dad were the ones cleaning stuff up.
Talk about just the behind the scenes on that Jamal shit, right? You say you're gonna. I mean, I think originally you were gonna house Kingpin 2 in their bowling alley at one point, right?
No, we were gonna do a movie like thing there.
Sure.
And then we had talked about doing. I don't know. We were gonna do this and then maybe something else, but there was a letter sent, and
from certain vexatious litigants that were constantly bombarding the parents of Ali Jamal, trying to say that you were like a piece of shit in all of this.
Right.
And then Ali Jamal's mom's like, well, I admire Ralph's spirit. He can come anyway. And then we're here. You know, so it all failed, ultimately.
It failed, and honestly, I think it made him like me more, quite frankly. It was just baffling. But and we did get into an argument, but once he found out, and that's not to say, everything I've ever done, his dad co-signs or anything like that, but it was more of, you see what this really is. These are just malicious people trying to stop anything I'm doing, and that's not the first time that's happened, that certain vexatious litigants have contacted people. They've contacted guests. They tried to get Ralphomania canceled, contacting the venue, like all this stuff, just because they don't want to see me do anything, which is just, I don't know. It's like their hobby now, and they don't really have any other hobbies, or don't seem to enjoy them as much. I don't know. It's kind of mental. But his mom, we ended up talking in Atlantic City and Ralphomania, and got along great. And then there were a couple bumps because of that, but they went ahead with it, and I think everybody had a great time. So it was a success, and a lot of people hate to see it, right? And they're like, Ralph's taking pictures in the fancy mansion. Well, yeah, I am. I mean,
damn right. Yeah. You know what I mean? When in Rome, Ralph. Yeah. When in fucking Rome.
Right? Yes, I'm taking pictures of the Ferrari. Yes, I'm posing and doing stuff like that. I don't know when I'll be back to a fucking $5 million mansion or whatever the fuck it costs. He said it took 2 years to design and another 2 years to build. Now, a lot of people don't even have that.
2 years. I mean, that looks like it was built centuries ago, really.
It does. And it stands out. Now, by the way, this is a very Tony neighborhood, as they would say. And there are several nice houses. That one next door is pretty nice, too. But it stands out even there. And just gracious hosts. His mom was giving me a tour. His dad showing me around the place. And never a hostile word. Ordered a bunch of biryani because I said I wanted some. They ordered 3 big tubs, not kidding, this big. It was just great and so nice. So I couldn't say enough good things about Ali Jamal and his family. I know we messed with Ali on the show a few times, and I've told him this. I'm messing with him on purpose. The thing is,
Ali leans into the bit. He leans into the bit, and he's always playing ball. Yes. Do you know what I mean? He's never... I'm sure sometimes he could have crossed the other side and all of this. Sure. It wasn't even a thought in this guy's head. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
he
they tried
gonna,
that.
Cut a promo on the other side for super chats. He leans into the bit.
He's loyal, and they tried that. They tried that. They tried to get him on Keno Casino. They tried to get him to flip because we had an argument or whatever. Now, a lot of times I'm jazzing it up, too, on the show. You know, I'm kind of leaning into it, too, right? And just messing with him a little bit. And so that happened one week, and they were trying to get – they wish they were at this castle. They wish that they were in that spot, and he had that opportunity. And he – could have done that and probably got support from a lot of these faggots, but he just did not and would not, and has been loyal to me even through controversies and bullshit. So I have a lot of positive things to say about him actually, and I always liked him, and just
I find him a very endearing guy.
Yeah, he
like
is.
Genuinely, when I was watching him at this Kingpin 2, I mean that's an endearing guy. Very endearing, and I know he's got. I mean, what's he in his early 20s? So he's got a lot of life ahead of him. But, he's going to do all right. He lives in a fucking castle.
Right.
So I think he's going to do okay.
That's what somebody said.
And I don't think he needs Shannon Gaines, Brian Holloman, the gamer pedophile.
That's what somebody said. They're like, I'm sure he was brokenhearted when he got off those calls to go back to his fucking castle, right? Like, oh, man, it was probably hard for him. Right? It's probably hard for him that night. And also, another point about Ali Jamal, he was a little, he kind of a little bit fatter, last year or whatever, earlier in the year. And I guess some people made a couple jibes about it. Well, you know what he did? He's got a personal trainer who's built
exactly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and he's dropped a ton of weight. The personal trainer was at the party, by the way. I didn't know who he was till he started talking, and it was Ali Jamal's personal trainer. And Ali Jamal, if you look at him, like he's looking like fit and in shape, and he's 22, and he realized he realized before me, right? I'm giving him credit over myself. It's like, all right, it's time to make a few changes. I think Ali Jamal, there's a lot to say about something like that, even just a little small thing like that. So he's got a lot of
respect for that young guy.
Yeah,
I think he's an endearing presence, and I didn't realize he didn't have a cozy channel. Where's Ali Jamal coming to cozy?
Yeah, well, so the thing is, he has rubbed a few people the wrong way.
I realized, yeah.
Yeah,
I realized.
Of course, I would like it, but I don't know if that'll happen. But hopefully, maybe you never know. I think a lot of people enjoyed the party and saw that. Maybe it's a little bit more than just what you see on the face of it, right? And people try to fuck with him sometimes and like send him shit that kind of riles him up, and so he bothered some people with some wild shit, and they told him not to come to AF stuff and stuff like that, which is unfortunate. If he would have listened to me, that wouldn't have happened. Don't listen to other people, Ali, unless it's your personal trainer or your parents. But there was a couple of issues like that where I think he kind of, freaked a couple people out or whatever. But, hopefully long term that changes. But he's had the right attitude about that too, though. He didn't, turn A-log or let me start shitting on these people or whatever. He just put his head down and tried to change the conversation. So, like I said, I like him a lot. And I know some people still don't. There's a couple of my friends don't either, but I think he's a good guy.
Yeah, I think he's a good guy as well. I think he's a very endearing presence. Can we talk about what's going on with Big Fag?
Yes, and I was going to bring that up. What is going on with Big Fag?
Well, if you don't know, you should know. Big Fag was willfully cruel to his own child, and his wife lives with Manny Pacquiao. That's all really there is to say. He lives in like a crack shack outside his mom's house because, unlike Teddy's mom, she doesn't even have the decency to bring him inside. But, that's that man's life. For real. And he was their champion up until like a day ago when they've just dropped him and his mods are in revolt and it's just over for the poor guy. But I don't feel sympathy. I mean, you knew about this guy, yeah?
Yes. Well, hold on. Let me qualify. So I didn't know before it came out. So he just called into my show, and he did some funny impressions. And he had a couple debate appearances, and he did really well against Stardust. And some people on Cozy saw it, and he got a channel, basically. I didn't get him the channel, but he got it because he was on the Killstream. And at first I was like, oh, that's great. That's kind of cool, right? That's great. Somebody from my show kind of jumped up a little bit and they got a channel, and that's, nice to see. Well, about a week or two later, not that long after anyway, the stuff came out about him beating his kid and his wife or whatever, which I didn't know about at all. He didn't tell anybody about, and just completely.
Yeah, it's something you keep quiet.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine why, but it's like, you could at least say, man, there's a couple things out here, maybe it's going to be controversial. You don't even necessarily have to go in it fully. And the only reason I bring it up is because he was talking about all this heat he was taking for being associated with me. And it was like, I had to fucking dance around that and try to prop your ass up for months and months, right? Like, I was taking heat because you beat your kid, and he swears he didn't do that, by the way, that it was just, he grabbed his wife.
It's there in the court documents.
It is.
I mean, that's irrefutable as far as anything can be, as irrefutable as it can be. It's literally there in black and white, Ralph,
And he won't, like, willful cruelty to a child is a very specific charge. And,
he said last night it was child torture. Like, he did a Freudian slip and said it was child torture. So that's kind of fucked.
Yeah, and again, it's not funny. I just laugh at the insane lies that he's telling, right? Just come clean with it. If you're grabbing your wife, if you're hitting her, they charge you with that. They don't charge you with willful cruelty to a child. That's not accidental. That's not what that means. That means you did that on purpose, knowing what you were doing. Not a heat of the moment, grab somebody and people got caught up in it. That's a fake story, without question. And I guarantee you, he has access to the police reports and the court minutes. We can't get that stuff because it's a juvenile, because it involves a child.
Yep.
So we can't actually pull the court files. We can't pull the police reports because of that. But we can see the charge, willful cruelty to a child, and I'll look it up here in a minute in California and show you the elements of the crime, what they call it here, that have to be met for something like that to happen. But the story doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally fucked. It's totally fucked that this guy, was chosen as their champion when he's far worse than anyone that they go after. Like, for real, far, far worse. I mean, you've never been willfully cruel to a child. Nick Fuentes has never been willfully cruel to a child. Beardson's never been willfully cruel. Like, none of this has gone through the courts and it's been decided that you've been this. But they chose this guy as the champion and all of this. And it just makes you wonder. And then I saw him cutting promos saying that Fuentes was gay, saying that he never liked you and all of this. And I was like, well, wait a second. You were sucking these guys' balls like not but two weeks before this, for the spot on Cozy. And not only that, but literally he was... We remember Rand, don't we, Ralph? He reminds me of Rand a lot.
Yeah, Rand.
A guy you brought up through the ranks, a call-in, brought him up, gave him a platform, and then he just snaked at the earliest opportunity he could find. Rand, by the way, where do you even begin with Rand, really? But that's another wife beater. That's another guy who left his fucking child to nearly drown in a swimming pool because he was so drunk. It's
that happened, by the way.
Pattern, isn't it?
I had no idea about that. But he got drunk one night and told that story. And his kid, I don't want to pick on his kid, but apparently there's some lasting effects from that episode. And, he got drunk as he tends to do and starts blubbering on air, crying and saying this shit. And I didn't know that for the longest. And then I was, schooled up on it, and I was just shocked. I mean, things make a little more sense now about just how much of a mess he is.
Yes.
And this guy used to drive a garbage truck. Now, by the way, that's, that's not, it's
forget,
work.
I mean, all of the lore about the fucking ammo box dropping on his head in the 2 days he was in the fucking military academy.
That's right. Yes, the ammo crate. And the effects are readily apparent from that as well. But, this guy used to drive a garbage truck and he hated it, which, I don't blame him. It's honest work, but it's hard work and you got to fuck with garbage and all this shit all day, right? And he talked to me for the longest. He's like, I want to go do streaming full time. And you think I can? I was like, well, I mean, give it a shot. And he was on my nuts for years. I
remember, I literally, that guy was the most loyal. I'd even say he was more loyal than Gator at one point. The guy was so fucking loyal. Nothing would change his mind. Nothing would deter this guy. And you showed that loyalty in spades. Like, you gave him that platform. You allowed him to call in, even when he was, let's be honest now, the dust has settled, derailing the most boring part of any show that he was ever involved in. Just complete, blackguard piece of shit scumbag. But you still gave him the leg up.
Every time. And even
Out of
times
friendship.
he got me banned from D Live a couple times by saying the N-word and doing this shit.
I remember, because he wouldn't censor himself. Like, he just wouldn't stop using those gamer words, I suppose.
And it was a bigger deal back then. I don't know if people remember, like, you know, it's a little looser now, kind of, you know, we got a little breathing room. If something like that slips out, I don't necessarily worry about everything going up in smoke. Back then I did, though. You know what I mean? Like, it was D Live and there was not really any other options. not a viable.
I mean, look, YouTube had banned you because of the fucking Children's Hospital stream where you raised all that money and they didn't want it. And then you've got D Live, you've got your friend coming on, you're giving him a shot, you're giving him a chance to, you know, play with the audience, and he's dropping case slurs. He's dropping the end like there's no tomorrow. Literally, desperately. He didn't even know he was doing it because he was so alcoholic, such in a drunken stupor. He didn't even know he was doing it. But what that was doing was like literally sending bullets at your livelihood.
Yes.
And you still stood by this guy. Do you know what I mean? And he stood by you. And now, well, you know, we're here.
Well, and then as soon, you know, he turned on me because I was streaming on Cozy. And he had it in his head that Cozy was this government plot, and
Nick Fuentes, he's a Fed.
You saw it.
Don't forget, I'm a Fed according to Rand. You know, the amount of years he's been locked in this. Like,
well, you know
I'm a Fed, we're Feds, everyone's a Fed.
Dude.
Nick Fuentes is a Fed. I'm somewhat trepidatious about going on Cozy.
Well, look, he was on Cozy, so I was streaming Rittenhouse, the trial. And he came on. Of course, we weren't talking about any of this. We were talking about the fucking trial. And he immediately starts saying Nick Fuentes is a faggot. That's what he was saying. And I let him say it, by the way. I let him say it several times and didn't stop him and was like, I don't know. What did you think I was going to stop you? Like, I don't say that, but, you know, I'm not going to censor you. You can say that if you want. But he kept saying it over and over, like derailing the show. And so finally I'm like...
It was his only bit.
Yeah, it was the only bit he had. And so finally I'm like, look, dude, you know, I didn't stop you from saying that, but we're doing something else, right? You're making yourself... going into business for yourself, to use a wrestling term, right? He was going into business for himself rather than the good of the show. And I don't mind people shining. I want that to happen and, you know, get over. But when you're going fully into business for yourself, it's harming me and it's harming my product. And so finally I was like, look, dude, you got to stop. And this is ridiculous. Well, he... You know, it's like, well, I'm never coming back on the show, and, you know, we can't be friends.
Good riddance.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, well, leave then, right? Like, if that's your line in the sand, think about all the shit that I had been through, too. And some of it self-inflicted. That me streaming on Cozy is what caused him to turn.
That's what tipped him over. I mean, for real. Then, by the way, like, the guy's got no problem. I mean, there's a stream with Brian Hollam and Shannon Gaines, pedophile Gator Gamer. He does a show with him like every fucking day of the week. No one watches. No problem with streaming with him. A guy who literally points at murals of children whilst he's dressed as Daddy Jim and says they're his wife.
Well, Rand likes that type of shit too. That's why that doesn't bother him.
Do you know what I mean? So why is the line drawn in the sand here? I don't understand it, but I suppose that's the ammo boxes.
Can we also talk about Gator must have had an ammo box to the head, because that's really dumb of him. And I've talked about this before. He's got a job in the normie world. And streaming with Randbot, you know, I was already, you know, me, right? And so, you know, I just, whatever. But he's got a job in the normie world, and Rambot has said a lot.
He's packing them groceries, man.
I'm just saying, like, the wrong person pulls that shit up. Now, they'll probably take this as a threat. It's not. I'm just saying you're retarded. And eventually that will happen. I guarantee you. Everybody knows who you are. They've seen your face. Somebody will put two and two together eventually, and you're going to regret streaming with Rambot. I can promise you that, and you will probably be shown the door for this sooner or later. And you can take that as a threat. It's not. I'm just take it as a promise, because I guarantee you that's going to happen. They're going to pull up the clips with him saying N-word this, N-word that, and, you know, kill the K's and all this stuff, right? Like, they're going to pull that clip, and it's going to cost you. I guarantee you. So I've never understood why. I think Rand gives him some of the money or some shit. But it just a baffling decision. Baffling decision on both their halves. And I think Rand thinks he's spiting me, right? Like by doing the show with Gator, but he's not. So
and this is it. Like, at what point do they become their own men? Do you know what I mean? They literally, their only thing that ties them together is that they used to be co-hosts of yours. They were the most loyal people to you for like the longest time. And now they have nothing. They just have you that they conceive over in, while they pretend to be anime VTubers or some shit. Like,
that's right.
I can't explain it. It's nuts. It's crazy.
But I just want to say this real quick, and I'll let you pick back up. The thing is, they weren't actually loyal, though, and so
this is it. It's all come apparent, hasn't it?
Yes.
They were all trying to jump ship the whole way, swapping DMs, swapping like, oh, Ralph just said this to me. What's the price if I defect? It was all so snaky.
Yes, it was very snaky. Gator had actually been feeding info to certain people, vexatious litigants and others, for months and months, and I didn't know that until like late last year. But at least
those Chudbud leaks, right? that platform that Daddy Jim told them all to go to, and then they were all doxxed because the user base was completely compromised. 3,000 people just fucking completely destroyed. But what that Chudbuds leak demonstrated was Gator was plotting with this Christorian X guy to aid this vexatious litigant or certain vexatious litigants to literally, I mean, these are quotes, subpoena Discord. Gator was going to subpoena Discord. Gator was going to like perform swattings on Marjorie Taylor Greene and other people in order to aid this crazy vexatious litigant. It's just nuts, just absolutely nuts. The amount of LARPing that they were doing, but also like the amount of, it demonstrated to me what they were doing behind the scenes the whole fucking time.
Yeah, those are revelatory leaks. And Gator's talking about, he hopes I get arrested or hurt. And there might be an A-log army out there. And he's going to present his evidence to the police on what he thinks the swattings are and all this stuff. He's a fucking moron. First off, I got news for you. Police don't give a fuck. And that's not me co-signing swatting. I've been against it the whole entire time. And I think it's fucked. But the police don't care. If they cared, it wouldn't be happening. And they don't give a fuck. They don't care about any of this internet bullshit. They damn sure don't care about some little petty ass, let me call in the FBI over some internet beef. That's not how it works in the real world. Matter of fact, in the real world, they just want you to go away. And I've talked to several lawyers and gotten the inside from DAs even. Right? Like, they're just like, I just wish these people would stop calling. Right? Like, just leave it. Just leave me alone. And that's the way it is. And so these people, Gator actually, what he did was right before he turned on me, he went, now some of these leaks aren't real, but some of them are, where he went and copied logs from our private chat and then deleted all his. Right, so I don't have any of his.
Yeah, classic snake move, by the way.
So I don't have any of his logs because I didn't keep logs on Gator. I was like, whatever, Gator's cool.
This was the thing, right? And when you said that when he was doxxed, it's true. If you think a guy is your friend and he's been your friend for 10 years, he's been with you through thick and thin, you're not going to be screenshotting everything this guy says about him crying about not getting his nursing license or whatever the fuck, about him crying about being bullied at the grocery store. You're not going to be screenshotting that because that's your friend.
I felt bad for him, dude. He literally was threatening to kill himself because he didn't pass this exam for whatever it is, radiology nurse or whatever the fuck he's doing. I forgot. But he didn't pass this, test that he was supposed to have. It was like not a test, but like he had to do something, in person, demonstrate that he had these skills. And he was so concerned that he was going to flunk out because he didn't have it or whatever. He was talking about killing himself. And I was like, dude, don't talk like that. What are you doing?
It's a shame he never followed.
Well, I wish he would have fucking killed himself now. Yeah. But, I could have screen capped that. I could have screen capped all the times he said he was going to fuck Alice and fuck Pay and he could change him. Like, this is literally the shit he was telling me. There would be laughs till no end if I did that.
We know who this guy is. We only have to look at him to know exactly what he does and what he says. The rest is just bullshit that he's concocted where he's this dark lord of the internet. It's literally Gator. He's going out to anime conventions dressed as Jim. He's pointing at kids on the wall, saying you're his wife, saying he's masturbated to them 1,000 times. His sister literally is writing fan fiction where she's being railed by a literal fucking deer. You know, he licked my already sensitive clit. They were long strokes. They were long strokes, Ralph, because it was literally a fucking deer. I grabbed his antlers. Like, maybe the feds need to give Gator's family a call and do some investigating there. That's all I can say.
I think I said this yesterday. Maybe I shouldn't have said it, but I think there's some untoward relations going on with him and his sister. I've seen some pictures, and I know they're both sick freaks, and maybe I shouldn't put that out there, but I just feel like there's way more to it, and he's been so deprived. He's starved. He's absolutely starved for a female's touch or any type of real interaction with the female.
And what about them Puerto Ricans he's slamming on the daily, Ralph?
Yeah. Like I said, starved, parched. He is parched, dude. And like literally, anytime some female would come up, but particularly Pay and Alice, he just
remember
knew
that
he was
pine cone bitch? How he was all up in her.
Her too. Oh man, you should. I was in Knoxville when he was trying to. Oh my god. Trying to get some play from her, and he's like going all around her like a sad puppy dog, and it's pathetic. And women know. And
then in the DMs later that were leaked, she's saying, "Oh, he's so sweet. I would never. I would never." That's tough.
That's
She'd
tough.
go with a stray cat. I mean, have you seen the OnlyFans, Ralph, that it's got up currently?
No.
Just total fucking depravity, Ralph. Just absolute depravity.
Well, he followed that spooky weeb trash around so much that some people thought he was with her, but then they went to the convention and they're like staying in separate hotels or different parts of the hotel, and he's like carrying their shit around, and she started talking about her boyfriend and all this. Like, oh man,
yeah,
how embarrassing! Why would you
it's
film
a
this?
tough life to be Gator, I suppose, but he brings it on himself, eh? I mean, the guy, guys. I mean, I think he's pruning out, personally. He looks very fucked currently. He's the wrong side of 30. He's nearly 40. He's still bagging them groceries. He's dressing up as Jim. He's living his life vicariously through hatred of you. He's doing a show with Rand. Like, it all seems to be falling apart, really, for the poor guy. But I feel no sympathy, really. I kind of wish he did top himself around the time.
I do too. And, again, at what point do you just move on? And, you could still, like I could understand if something was going on with me and he decided to take a swipe or whatever, bad blood. But, like, he is still just insanely hyper-focused on me. Same for Rand, same for Worski, although he's got hyper-focused on you too. But a lot of these people, right? And it's just like, at what point do you move on? I mean,
at what point do they look at their own lives and go, okay, I kind of need to make something of this. Kind of need to have kids, kind of need to get married, kind of need to just be something that's real and matters.
I mean, do you think Gator's ever going to have kids and get married? Because I personally don't. And like you said, he's creeping up to 40. You don't have much time left. I mean, I don't know if people realize this. Once you hit 40 and start getting even older than that, I mean, a lot of opportunities for that type of thing are starting to escape your grasp completely. And just not even...
What I've been reminded of, Ralph, especially recently, is like the mortality of the sector as it is. What with Coach going down, being dragged out of his fucking hovel there with his green toilet and shit. And the fact that, like, the Kiwi Farms has gone down. Like, it's gone forever. It's literally tour only. These things have a shelf life. They're not there forever. And these Spurgs, like, when they lose these things, it's like their whole identity is gone. Gator's identity is gone, for real. The fact that he can't sock on Kiwi Farms anymore. Well, I mean, he is socking on Kiwi Farms because he's telling everyone he's using Tor like a pedophile. But,
That was hilarious.
But, like, the guy's grasp of reality is just gone. He can't comprehend how he's got to this place. He's woke up suddenly and he's Gator. And he can't quite make it, I don't think.
I don't think so either. And I just don't know, like, what's the plan, dude? And I don't see it. And you talk about mortality just of the sector and of the people in it. You know, I've thought about that a lot the last month.
Yeah.
And there's a reason that I've cleaned up, because I don't want to die. Like, I mean, what the fuck? I mean, I will die eventually, but it's you know, there was some wake-up calls there, and some health stuff, and even stuff that wasn't on air. You know, I don't tell every single thing, and it's like, okay, it's starting to break down. You know, I need to stop or just die. And I have a lot of reasons to live. A lot of people like me. Of course, there's some that hate me too. But I got 2 kids. You know, I got my wife. There's a lot of stuff I want to do. And, you know, thank God I have that. But you look at Gator, and we've already talked about it. You look at these people, what do they actually have? And nothing. And they're staring down the barrel at 40. Warski's in the same boat. You think he's going to get married and have kids? No. I mean, he would maybe have a better chance than Gator, but, like, not by much. And, you know, honestly, PPP is probably crazy to say, maybe, the luckiest out of them all, because he's the youngest and he's still got, you know, a lot more time on the clock. But even him, you know, another 5-10 years, life's gone. Yeah. I don't know what to say. Like, people, you saw Ray Stevenson died yesterday, was in Rome. He was 58 years old. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like,
exactly.
That sent a shockwave down my spine. Dude, you can just die, right? And you start getting into your 40s and 50s, and people just die, and you only have a certain amount of time, I guess. Long rant over, but you know, people need to realize that, and a lot of them don't seem to care. They're so tied up in hating me and that being their personality that life is literally escaping like the hourglass.
Yeah, and on that real moment, because that was like a that was a Jerry Springer lesson. We're on the subject of fucking mortality. You know, Jerry Springer came back and his ghost inhabited Ralph in that moment. And
that was the final thought.
Yeah.
Be good to yourself and each other. Yeah, I think that's how I used to end it, right? After strippers are like beating each other's brains out and trannies and all this, and then Springer comes on and gives his final thought. Yeah.
That show was fucking great. That was like the highlight of me coming back from school and watching that shit. And there was a British one as well called Jeremy Kyle that was also
yes, well. I know. I'm familiar with that one, actually. But yeah, Springer, I used to come home from school. Of course, I was a kid in the late 90s, and it was just a happening. Like every day, and everybody watched it too. And we would so my school would go until about 3:30, and I would usually just get home for the end of the show and then watch a replay. I would have somebody record it sometimes and stuff like that, but I would come in and things would be hot. The audience would be yelling and doing all this stuff and all these brawls. It's hard to explain just how big Springer was, and like just influenced everybody, good and bad, I guess. But yeah, I'm a huge Springer fan, excuse me. And it was funny because I said that when he died, and you know, some of my audience and people on Twitter was like, well, he's Jewish and oh my God, and this and that. It's like, look, dude, you know, I know that, but if you can't appreciate good television, you got a problem. I don't know what to say. If you're that's another conversation too. It's like, you're so tied up in hating Jews, you can't even just sit and watch TV sometimes. Like, I don't know what to say. But yeah,
exactly. You got to appreciate that showmanship when you see it across the aisles, Ralph.
Sure, that's exactly right. To use the callback there to the beginning of our conversation. That's right. You got to appreciate a good showman, as always.
All right, Ralph. I'll let you take off.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Call.
Thank you, sir. Talk to you soon.
You take care, sir. Bye.
Godwinson. See, that's a pro. Now, people don't understand how important the callback is, but I do. And hopefully some of you do, because that's the mark of a great performer. If you watch comedy, we were watching Chris Rock earlier, for instance. A good comedic set ends with a callback usually. Right? And it's a callback to what they were talking about earlier in the show. Usually stuff that's right at the beginning. And now they have their shit written out usually, or they've practiced it, 100 times or whatever. So it's even more impressive to do the callback live, right, off the live conversation. So shout out to Godwinson. And like I said, I wasn't bullshitting. Even when he was going at me pretty hard in certain cases. It was still funny though. It was done from, even if he might have disliked me then, it was done from a place of let's entertain. let's have fun with it. Let's let other people have fun with it. Not bitterness, not, oh, I used to be on a show and now I'm not, and this and that. Like, you can tell, and it bleeds through. Like Medicare making fun of my suitcase. It's like, okay, well, that's just dumb. Or Gator, tweeting 100 times about me, all this shit. So you can tell when somebody's trying to entertain you and have fun with a subject or a person or a topic versus just absolute bitterness and, it's like a jilted ex-girlfriend energy, right? Like somebody you cheated on or something like that. It's like that type of energy. So congratulations to Godwinson, by the way, if he's still listening, on the kid that he's having this summer. And I think maybe a little news there. He said this was kind of the farewell run. If anybody else had told me that, I wouldn't believe it. But I do believe it from Godwinson. So we'll see if he sticks to that or not. But it's been great. I had a lot of fun, really, and I didn't say this while he was here, but some of the most fun I had last year was the appearance that I did on his stream with Ace Solari. See, I got it. It's just a fun stream. There was no obligations. There was no like, oh, I got to do this or that, or somebody's saying this and I got to counter that. It was literally, he proposed it. We got on a call and talked about a couple things we were going to do on the show. And then we went live and just rolled with it. And it was fun. It reminded me of the old days when I used to stream, actually. And I still have days like that. I don't want to act like it's all by the numbers or anything, but it was more of a throwback, right? And, there was no designs on the screen. There was none of this bells and whistles. It was just us there, having a good time and having fun just for the love of the game. You know what I mean? And, I like that feeling. And, it escapes you sometimes when you just get used to doing the show every day. And not that I don't have fun with it. I do, but, that really stood out. That really stood out for me last year. So he's not here now, but I appreciated him doing that. And of course, I had some problems in the spring and this and that. But I really enjoyed that in December, and it gave me a boost going into Ralphomania, and it was just fun to do. And also, nobody expected it either. So when I showed up there on Godwinson's stream, a lot of people legit popped, to use a wrestling term, like the audience popped. So that was cool too. There's not too many real surprises anymore either. So that's another wrinkle to it, right? Like just the surprise aspect. So shout out to Godwinson. I've really been enjoying him here on Cozy, but I was already enjoying him on YouTube. This last run has been something special, and that might explain why he's been streaming so much if he's planning to hang it up. So selfishly, I would hope to see him maybe come back for a special here or there. But I certainly understand it, as much as I love this, and I'm probably be doing it forever, right? To be quite honest. I've kind of settled into that. And it doesn't bother me. This is just kind of my life. I'm a streamer and this is my job. And, I've accepted that and I love it in a lot of ways, but there's some negatives to it too. And if you could get in and get out, it's not necessarily meant to be your whole life, right? I kind of just, that's just how it goes for me. But I certainly understand, wanting to get out and, have your fun and then go back to real life, quote unquote. Because it is kind of like being, certain days, it's like looking in the funhouse mirror, you know what I mean? Because, we talked about a lot of it while he was here. Most people don't exist. Don't exist like that, right? So it's kind of a bizarre life. You really can't talk to too many people outside of the business, quote unquote, that would really understand what's going on, which is another reason why, me and my wife are such a good match, because she was kind of already around all this. And so she knew what it was like already. Most normal people don't want to be a part of this, quite frankly, and for good reason. So as much fun as I have with it, as much as I love it, I am acutely aware that most people don't want to be a part of it. And most people can't handle it because they come after every aspect of your life. They hound you in every way whatsoever. And it can be a real grind. You know, I was talking about some of the stuff earlier with court and all this stuff. Well, none of that happens unless I am who I am, unless I'm on these airwaves, unless, you know, people are focused on me. If I was just a nondescript person, it probably wouldn't happen, right? So there's just a lot of craziness